Welcome to Deep Tech Studio, and in today's episode, we will talk to the man who's currently acting as the bridge for deep tech between India and Israel. Saket, also known as YourIsraelGuy, has been steadily building the deep tech corridor between India and Israel. But how has this corridor been beneficial? Through this channel, deep tech solutions have benefited India's premium unicorn startups. The startups with the massive use of deep tech have improved their bottom line, as cost is the key area for optimization as technology companies will scale in size and business. So today in conversation with Saket, we will learn about Onnivation, the opportunity that traditional legacy businesses have with deep tech, and how India-Israel corridor is transforming the tech landscape in India. Welcome, Saket. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Saket, there is approximately $1.3 billion VC funding in India's deep tech industry, which means the opportunity exists. So if you can highlight for audience's benefit, how traditional legacy businesses can benefit from deep tech?
Yeah, that's a great question. I come from a family business background. A lot of my friends come from a traditional manufacturing business background. And as every time, I speak to them, there's this strong urge to bring efficiency, automation in the way they do things. And there are various ways to think about it. One that stands out the most is how can you use technology to bring in efficiency across different boards. So if you're running a manufacturing facility, can you use IoT to do predictive maintenance? If you're managing a large field force, can you have an application to train and empower that field force to do their job better? If you're a manufacturing industry in the food space, can you use a company, one of the companies we know in Israel called Tastewise that can give you analytics on what is the trend right now. So if you're a company launching chips, can you give them with insights on which flavor of chips would do well in Calcutta and Mumbai versus say a tier 2, tier 3 city? Or if you're a company manufacturing soaps and soups, can you do demand forecasting with them for them without the need of a data scientist? So the challenge with traditional enterprises is they're not tech first, and for them to hire a tech team is very, very hard. So great tech solutions that are solving plug and play pointed problems for them is a very big gap to be filled and addressed.
Got it, Saket. And those were some interesting insights. And yes, as you rightly said, deep tech is the right way to get into the innovation mode for traditional legacy businesses. Now, coming to the other end of the spectrum, that is the startups. Now, 1/5 of Indian tech startups are using deep tech solutions. And if you can throw light on why deep tech solutions are increasingly becoming the go-to solution for especially unicorns in the country.
Very interesting. So if you look at all the unicorns in India, every company that has raised venture capital money, and even you look at enterprises like banks and insurance companies, there is massive competition and massive pressure to grow fast. They've raised 200, 300, 500 million rounds, and now they need to deliver growth. And the biggest thing you need to deliver growth is people. And hiring people is the hardest thing to do right now, specifically when it comes to tech. So where tech plays a role the deep tech ecosystem plays a role is they're saying, okay, earlier if you were to hire 10 data scientists, you're only able to hire 3 or 4, and that too with a lot of struggle. So can we enable the 4 data scientists to do the job of 10, right? Which is where we've seen that a lot of functions which are not core to the business of a company. So let's just, if you're a gaming company, you don't need to build cybersecurity solutions in-house, or you don't have the expertise to build it, or to build QA solutions, to build a data pipeline, you need an army of data engineers. So a lot of solutions are emerging in the ecosystem where they are saying everything that is non-core or support system, let us go and solve it with a pointed solution. So if you're a gaming company, you want to focus on building your games, whereas everything else, right, from your data stack, DevOps stack, developer productivity, QA, cybersecurity, there is someone who's really specializing in building that. So the ecosystem for unicorns is, okay, let me focus on my core thing, and everything that is non-core, I create a partnership with these SaaS companies that can help me scale faster. So does two things. One, it solves your hiring problems. Earlier, if you were to hire X, you can do with X minus 5. And the second thing is helps you focus on your core business.
Okay, now when we speak about deep tech, of course, India is getting there. India's ecosystem is developing. But one of the major clusters around the world is Israel. Now, Tel Aviv, as we know, is a cybersecurity powerhouse of the globe, and Israel has made great strides in security innovation. But now we hear Israel is also being one of the primary deep tech clusters too. What factors are influencing the growth of deep tech in Israel?
Yeah, great question. So there's a simple philosophy I follow in life. It's called you're the average of 5 people you're surrounded by, right? If you go to Israel, every coffee shop you go to, every conference, every social gathering you go to, you'll only find people who are talking about cloud infrastructure, DevOps, security, a large part of it. It also stems from the fact that Israel's always at war, and every individual has to join the army when they're 18 years old. And when they're at the army, they're always collecting intelligence information. So how do I intercept missile attacks? Hence, they analyze a lot of data. Hence, some of the best data science companies come out of Israel. They have to process this data, so they build their own cloud and own DevOps tools. They have to secure this data, so they build their own security companies. It's because of their background, their necessity, they come up with these amazing technologies that is so core to protecting their own country. And the entire DNA of the country is like that. They've been historically building these companies. So there are more and more conversations around these that happen in the Israeli ecosystem, and hence the best deep tech companies come out of there.
Saket, as you are our Israel guy and the go-to for all the conversation around it, could you throw some light also on how a lot of other stakeholders influence the market in Israel when it comes to, say, policymakers or academia or other innovators or investors?
So I talk about an external influence or also internal influence. So starting with external. So Israel is just 9 million people. So everything they do from day zero, they start thinking of global markets. So they only build for global markets. When you look at companies like Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, Amazon, they have massive R&D facilities in Israel, so that Israeli companies can build for them and also expand to global markets very quickly. So Israel is very exposed to what is happening globally, what problems globally exist, and they are coming and solving it. That's one. And out of necessity, since they can't cater only to their market, they're always looking at outside. Internally, I would say government has a massive support. There are a lot of funds that back very early stage founders, very early stage startups, grants that support them to build stuff. But most importantly, the internal part that I've seen is the community. So Israeli founders are very patriotic. So if you're a founder who's built something amazing, there are 10 other founders who are willing to support you, make connections for you in the US market to get you the first POC, the first customer, and so on and so forth. And I feel that's really played out well for the Israeli ecosystem to scale in the right way.
Interesting insight, Saket. Thank you so much. Now then, how the India-Israel Tech Corridor transforms technology landscape in India? And then what is your role, Saket, and how Onnivation contributes to it?
Yeah, so look, Israel is very strong when it comes to going deep on few specific areas. Um, and India is a large, Indian companies are largely consumer tech companies. They're building for scale. So when these companies scale, they want to solve pointed problems in the best possible manner. So if we talk about a Dream 11, when they are ramping up their scale from say 0 million to 100 million users, they need the best test automation solution. They need the best monitoring alerting solution or the best security solutions. At that point, uh, there is a company in Israel which has only solved that one specific problem on testing, for instance. They would come and support Dream 11 to achieve their goals, right? So it is a very complementary relationship where one side is solving for very deep problems and the other country is only supporting these companies with the scale they need to ramp up their own business. And hence it's like a match made in heaven, I would say. And to your question on how we are contributing, so one of the things that we've observed is Israeli companies are very focused only on the US market. India has historically never been a focus because they would naturally go to the country which gives them the highest value of their time. We realize that Indian companies really need this kind of support, these kind of technologies. So we go to Israeli companies, tell them we have a sales team, we know how to sell, and we have a customer base. Why don't you partner with us and we'll help you deploy your products in the Indian market? And the Indian market needs these technologies, like I shared. So that kind of makes it a very interesting play for us, where we are literally sitting in the middle of creating these relationships which help both the sides.
Thank you, Saket. Thank you for explaining your role in the corridor and how collaboration can benefit both of them. Can we ask you about your future plans for Onnivation, and what more do you plan to do? What other technologies do you want to focus on?
Yeah, so we are actually building an ecosystem between India and Israel. If you think about the expertise that Israel has and India, the expertise that India offers, there's a lot that we are sitting on where we can help both the sides leverage of each other. And one of the ways we thought we want to leverage this relationship better is by investing. So the fact that we generate so much revenue for Israeli SaaS companies in the Indian market, we know which companies are doing well, and hence we end up investing in these companies. So we've launched an angel fund where we are constantly investing in some of the best SaaS companies in Israel. On the India side, we have visibility to the best consumer tech companies and we become their product and tech advisors. So we get allocation to invest in some of the best consumer tech companies in India. For instance, Jupiter Money, which is building a neobank, one of the fastest growing neobanks in India. So the way we see this is our portfolio companies in Israel, which are building the best data science AI solutions, can they help Jupiter Money with their tech stack? And can Jupiter Money provide insights to an early stage SaaS company in Israel where we've invested on how their product will work when it's at scale? So that ecosystem is what we are very, very excited about. But the future is like, how do you build a strategic venture capital fund where on one side you're generating revenue, on second side you're helping them with tech and product.
Saket, that's an interesting and excellent example of Onnivation's services or way forward. Are there any specific technologies that you see interest towards in both the ecosystems?
So you want specific examples of a few companies that are?
No,
yeah, sure. So
technologies. You can also tell me about the companies. That would be great as well. Are there any specific technologies, or both of them are bringing in conversations?
yeah, so one of the areas we are very, very strong in is cloud cost optimization, because Indian companies are at massive scale. They spend like millions of dollars every month on their Google Cloud, AWS bills. And we have three of the best companies in the world that actually do cost optimization for cloud. Granvate is one of them, where they are optimizing costs for the likes of ShareChat and Dream11 and multiple other companies in India. So this is one area we thought, because India is cost sensitive, and anything that is optimizing cost would do well. Great fit. Second thing we're looking at is companies in the cybersecurity space. So off late we are seeing a lot of attention by startups or companies saying we want to ramp up our security stack. Hiring for security talent is very, very hard. It is extremely hard to even find that talent in India. So that is another area where we are finding companies in cloud security, in SOC 2 ISO compliance, in network security, where these solutions are coming and saying, okay, let us automate your entire cloud security, network security, SOC 2 ISO compliance process. So these are a few. Third, I could talk about a company called Rivery that we work with. So building data pipelines requires data engineers. Again, very hard to hire folks. So can we automate the entire data pipeline building journey, make it in half an hour or 1 hour versus days and weeks? So these are some examples we see that are really solving pressing problems for companies in India.
Awesome. And you've hit the nerve with data, cloud, and security, three important nerves in the nervous system of Indian enterprises. Saket, are there any challenges? Because you have the ringside view of both the ecosystems, both burgeoning ecosystems. Are there any specific challenges? And if so, then how do you navigate them?
So challenges in what sense?
Challenges, you can use your discretion and tell me what challenges are there in the ecosystem for you to operate, and are these challenges specific to deep tech?
It's a broad question, but one thing I could tell you is that we had challenges in selling in India earlier, where there's a very strong sentiment of building everything in-house. So engineers would want to build everything possible versus just building their core.
Yeah.
And which is fine, because earlier we could hire a lot of people. Now that hiring has become harder, we are seeing more and more adoption for automation, more and more adoption for partnerships, anything I can partner with and solve for. Beyond that, to be honest, I only see positive. Customers in India are willing to pay more comparable to US pricing for a SaaS solution, which is unheard of. The mindset towards adopting these companies has become very, very strong. So there's so much money in the market, right? So there's so much venture capital money chasing very few companies, and all this money is going towards using deep tech so that we build better and better companies.
And that's an optimistic point to end the conversation. Thank you, Saket. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking time out and explaining to us about the India-Israel DeepTech Corridor. Thank you.